The Envoy-class star carrier Solstice crown drifted toward the crystalline world of Orath's, seat of the Aetherborn Empress. Its outer hull shimmered in refracted twilight, like metallic feathers catching starlight. Captain Marcus Hale stood at the forward viewing deck, jaw tight, gaze unblinking. He had served in sieges, relief campaigns, extraction missions, but never this. Diplomacy terrified him more than any battlefield. This was unlike any world humanity knew. The Aetherborn were not simply a species. They were part elemental, part sentient light, wearing physical shapes woven from matter and energy. Their empire was older than Earth's recorded history. And Marcus was escorting the most valuable envoy humanity had ever produced. Himself. His military file referred to him as commander. The Orathians would call him other things: the Bloodkeeper, the Mortal Veil, the Fragile Oath-bearer. He had been chosen because he did not fear death. Heavy thoughts, Commander? Chief Medical Officer Lara Voss approached him, her pale hair falling over her officer coat. She and Marcus had served together for 8 years. She was the only person who could read him. Peace talks between two empires close to war, Marcus muttered. And I am supposed to protect royalty made of living starlight. Yes, heavy thoughts. Lara gave a faint smile. Trust your instincts. They've saved more than planets. A soft chime echoed, a summons. Royal arrival in 5 minutes, the intercom announced. Aetherborn delegation boarding. Marcus checked his weapon, standard safeguarding protocol, and moved to the docking corridor. What stepped through was breathtaking. Queen Astrielle of Aura, this did not walk, she glided, her form radiant and humanoid, hair like braided luminescence flowing behind her. 4 attendants moved with her, their eyes glowing like dawn trapped in crystal. Her gaze turned to Marcus. A voice filled the corridor, not spoken but resonating through the air. Commander Hale of Terra Dominion. Protector. Witness. Soldier of enduring flame. Marcus bowed instinctively. Your Majesty. We welcome you aboard the Solstice Crown. Her lips curved faintly. We come seeking peace, Marcus Hale. May your guardianship uphold it. He escorted her through the vessel. Diplomats whispered at the living legend among them. Orathians rarely left their sanctum worlds. Marcus stayed posted outside her guest halls, hand resting on his weapon. His instincts flared, something was wrong. Shadows clung too sharply to corners. Footsteps in hallways felt hunted. Hours later, alarms shattered quiet. Section 3 breach, hostile signatures detected. Marcus sprinted. Hostile figures in mirrored cloaks burst from a ventilation shaft, weapons humming with null energy, designed to kill Aetherborn royalty. Astrielle. Marcus charged into her chambers. The queen stood serene in the midst of chaos, attendants forming defensive sigils. One assassin aimed a Starpiercer cannon, an anti-Aetherborn weapon. Marcus didn't think. He moved. He slammed into Astrielle, knocking her behind a shielding column as the cannon fired. Light exploded. Marcus's chest burned, bone liquefied, nerves shredded. He heard his own scream and tasted iron. His vision fractured, Queen Astrielle's eyes shone in horror. He collapsed, lungs failing, heart torn open, dying on cold alloy floors. Her voice echoed over him, not in words but in a command that shook existence. No. Not this mortal. Not my death. Her hand rose, light spiraling from her. The assassins were vaporized in silent radiance, but Marcus no longer saw them. Darkness consumed him. The last thing he felt was warm hands, not human, holding him as life drained away. And then nothing. The Solstice Crown trembled under emergency response cries. He's gone, Commander Hale is gone, there's no saving a torso like that. The Queen's voice cut across all others. Death does not claim what is owed. He saved my existence. His life is mine to restore. Those words followed Marcus into oblivion, into a darkness waiting to be rewritten. He had died protecting peace. Now something older than empires refused to let him go. Marcus did not awaken in darkness. He awakened through it. Thoughts came slowly, like signals traveling through broken wires. Sound arrived before sight, distant chanting, crackling energy, heartbeats that weren't his. Then, light. He floated, not on a table but suspended in threads of radiance that held his body like a cocoon. Pain existed but dulled, death lingered like a bruise on his soul. His essence flickers, a voice said, alien melodic. A mortal body is too fragile for convergence. Another voice, calm, commanding, cut through. He gave fragile flesh willingly for me. We will give strength in return. Marcus forced his eyes open. He lay inside a chamber unlike anything human architecture could construct. Crystalline roots grew through walls, pulsing with starfire. The air hummed with psionic resonance, carrying the faint scent of storm ozone and ancient incense. He wasn't in the solstice crown anymore. He wasn't on any human world. A figure stood before him, radiant skin bruised by exhaustion, eyes dimmed but burning with resolve. Queen Astrielle. Marcus Hale, she spoke softly aloud this time. You are not finished yet. He tried to speak, nothing but wet gasps came out. Breathe, she instructed. Two Aetherborn healers lifted him slightly, sliding a conduit across his chest. A rush of warmth surged through him, replacing the cold void with contained flame. It may comfort you to know, Astrielle continued, your body did die. You crossed the threshold. Human surgeons could not recall you. Marcus closed his eyes. That at least felt correct. There had been peace in the surrender, not fear, only purpose. But, the queen whispered, I would not permit a soldier of such honor to fade. She raised a palm. Marcus felt something like gravity invert. Symbols ignited on the floor, ancient sigils interlocking in spirals. Energy coiled upward, wrapping him and her both in crimson gold light. Her attendants gasped. One spoke urgently. Majesty, the Ember Rite is forbidden outside royal bloodlines. You cannot. I can and will, Astrielle cut sharply. The covenant of flame binds me. His life was interposed for mine. The price must be paid. Marcus tried again to speak. Why? But only blood fell from his lips. It is not charity, she said as if reading the question in his eyes. It is law older than written stars. A life freely given becomes a debt that must be repaid. She stepped into the ring of sigils with him. Her radiance flickered. She was weaker than when he first saw her. Begin the incursion sequence, she commanded her healers. One of them protested desperately. Majesty, if you do this, your essence will co-bind with his. You will feed him with your life force. You risk diminishing permanently. Astrielle closed her eyes. Then let me diminish. Let peace grow where life was offered. The ritual ignited. Marcus arched, agonized, for light burst through his ruined chest. Astrielle flinched as luminous threads extended from her ribs toward his, piercing his dying flesh. Their breaths synchronized. He felt her fatigue. Her millennia of memories. Loneliness like an empire carved into her bones. She felt something from him. His service, the humiliating mistakes of youth, the camaraderie of soldiers, the refusal to abandon others even when orders said otherwise. For a heartbeat they were inside each other. The healers bowed their heads, not in reverence but in shock. It binds, Majesty. You are linked. The rite has taken. Marcus gasped, his first true breath in hours. But Astrielle swayed, knees unsteady. Golden light dimmed on her skin. A healer rushed to her. Majesty, your vitality output is beyond safe range, we must withdraw. No, she whispered. He will live. That is the covenant. Marcus finally formed words, broken raw. You should not do this for me. Astrielle leaned close enough that her radiance washed across his vision, soft yet fierce. You valued my life over your own, she murmured. Let me value yours. Then Marcus felt something impossible, the pulse of her heart beating inside his chest. Life force flowed into him, pain eased, tissue knitted, bone reformed. His lungs inflated without machines. But he also felt her weaken, each surge into him drained her. The healers began chanting stabilization incantations. Astrielle's voice broke softly. You will not die today, Marcus Hale. His eyes closed, not from fading, but from overwhelming sensation. Far away he heard alarms and guards arguing with healers. But Astrielle's hand remained pressed over his chest, light binding him to her. Death had been denied. By a queen who had chosen burden instead of letting him fade into honor. Whatever Marcus became next, he would not be just a soldier anymore. Marcus awoke again, but this time with clarity. He opened his eyes to a vaulted ceiling made of translucent crystal, starlight flowing through it like rivers in glass. He was reclined on something softer than fabric, warmer than metal, an organic bed grown from luminous stone. Breath came without pain. Movement came without effort. He sat up. His chest bore no wound, only faint golden tracery pulsing beneath his skin. Not a scar, he realized. A conduit. Do not rise too quickly, came a quiet voice. Marcus turned. Queen Astrielle sat in a ceremonial chair beside him, posture regal yet visibly exhausted. Her radiance had dimmed, Her eyes lacked their earlier brilliance. How long? Marcus asked. 2 cycles. 2 days. 2 auric days, 8 human days. Marcus tensed. You stayed here the whole time? Her gaze drifted away, weighed by something more than fatigue. I could not leave, she said softly. The binding is not passive, Marcus Hale. When I am separated, your heartbeat falters. The word struck him differently than the battlefield pain, guilt, unwanted dependence. He looked at her, truly looked. Her edges were frayed. Energy flickered unpredictably around her. She had spent herself to give him life, and now she remained tethered, bleeding strength by the moment. You shouldn't have done this, Marcus whispered. Astrielle's brows lowered, not in anger but in quiet certainty. And you should not have leapt between death and me, she replied. Yet you did. Their eyes held and he felt something stir, an echo. Not his thought. Not her thought. Something shared. Duty without hesitation. He exhaled sharply. I felt that. Her head tilted. Yes. The right forged a mind thread. We are permeable to one another now. Marcus swallowed. Then you can hear. Only what resonates strongly, she assured. Your private memories remain yours, unless you intend them. A healer approached, a slender Aetherborn with crystalline filaments across their arms. Majesty, your vitals decline further each hour. You require withdrawal from proximity. I will remain, Astrielle replied without turning her head. The healer's voice trembled. You risk permanent loss of essence. Let him sustain himself now. He cannot. Not yet. Marcus clenched his jaw. Then cut the bond. The healer recoiled as if Marcus had struck them. Astrielle stood, slowly, but with iron in her tone. Do not speak such a thing again. The right is sacred. Breaking it prematurely kills you, and destabilizes me. Marcus's fists tightened. Then you'll die feeding me. She held his gaze. Then let me die with purpose instead of letting you fade without witness. His breath caught. She stepped closer but her frame swayed. Marcus instinctively reached out, and felt a wave crash through him. He had felt her fatigue, her ache, her resolve. Their minds brushed without words. You're afraid, he murmured, not accusingly but with newfound understanding. Astrielle's jaw tightened. A queen does not fear for herself, but for the cost others may bear. A soft alarm chimed at the chamber entrance. A guard strode in, armor made of refracted light. Majesty, the council demands your presence. They question the legitimacy of this binding. They say it jeopardizes sovereignty. Marcus froze. This was the consequence no battlefield had prepared him for. Astrielle turned toward the guard, voice quiet but commanding. I am aware. Inform them I will attend, when the human stabilizes. The guard hesitated. They warn they may censure you if you refuse. Her reply was ice. They may try. Silence settled after the guard left. Marcus spoke first. Your people will turn against you because of me. Astrielle sank into her chair slowly. Some already have. Some whisper that I am contaminated by mortal flesh, that binding to you makes me less. Marcus felt anger flare. She must have sensed it because her gaze softened. It is not new, she said. Throughout history, unity is always resisted hardest by those who fear losing control. He studied her, seeing beyond regal bearing, seeing weariness and unspoken sorrow. What happens next? We stabilize you, she said. Then I face my council. You will not go before them yet, you cannot endure the mind pressure. Marcus frowned. I'm military. I've survived interrogation fields. I can handle a council chamber. Astrielle gave a thin smile. What you felt in battle was force. What you will face with them is judgment, and judgment can break even monarchs. He said nothing. She rose, unsteady, but lifted her hand. Light seeped into his skin again, strengthening him. He felt clearer, fuller, while she dimmed slightly. Why do you keep the cost for me? Her answer was simple. You bled without hesitation. I answer with the same coin. Marcus reached instinctively, and for the first time light flowed back toward her. His body sparked, energy climbed the tracery and Astrielle inhaled sharply, relief washing through her. Her eyes widened. You returned essence. Marcus blinked. I didn't mean to. No, she breathed. But now we know it can be done. She smiled, faint yet real. You may yet save me as I saved you. She turned toward the chamber doors. I must face my council soon. Rest, Marcus Hale. You will need strength, not only for survival but for what your existence now represents. Marcus lay back and the crystal-laced ceiling blurred. He understood now. He hadn't just been saved. He had become a fulcrum, between empires, between existence and extinction. His life was no longer his alone. Queen Astrielle entered the high conclave with the slow grace of someone masking pain. Marcus could feel her through the binding even from his chamber, her pulse thin, her energy stretched. The chamber itself was carved from auric crystal, its walls alive with drifting constellations. 12 counselors sat in crescents, their forms radiant but rigid, like statues sculpted from starlight. High Chancellor Varix rose first. His glow burned sharp, voice echoing like cracked glass. "Majesty, you violate precedent older than our written ages." Astrielle bowed her head slightly but did not kneel. The rite was invoked correctly. The covenant demands repayment. Varix's luminescence flared. "A mortal is unworthy of the ember rite. You bonded with lesser material. You risked corruption." Astrielle's tone hardened. "He gave his life for me. That is all that matters under law." A murmur of discord swelled. Another counselor, Hale, younger and gentler, leaned forward. "Majesty, we do not dispute his sacrifice. But the binding threatens you. Your radiance has dimmed." Astrielle did not deny it. "Healing a life torn open by death has cost me strength. But it is mine to spend." "But when a queen dims," Varix growled, "the realm weakens. Tradition exists for stability. If you wished preservation, a royal should have taken the burden." "None of them were present," Astrielle replied. "And none were owed the debt." The conclave erupted, voices overlapping like clashing bells. Marcus listened from afar, felt their anger through Astrielle's chest, pressure climbing like weight on the lungs. He rose unsteadily and reached for his tunic. Lyra, the human medic assigned to observe Aetherborn treatments, grabbed his arm. "Commander, you aren't cleared to move." "Then stop me," Marcus said, steady for the first time since waking. She didn't. She handed him a support band to stabilize his repaired ribs. "Try not to die twice," she muttered. Marcus walked, slow but unyielding, into the conclave hall. Gasps rippled like shock waves through the crystal amphitheater. Astrielle turned, surprise and alarm flickering across her fading aura. "Marcus." He bowed toward her, then faced the council. "You question whether I deserved her sacrifice." His voice carried, not loud but ironed. "I didn't. But I didn't jump in front of a weapon because I deserved to survive. People don't earn salvation before they act. They act, and worth is decided after." Some counselors shifted, uncomfortable. Varix stood. "You presume to address us, mortal?" Marcus took a step closer. "I presume nothing. But I won't let her fight alone for something she shouldn't have had to justify." Astrielle felt a pulse edge through her chest, his anger pushing into her aura. Her knees steadied. For a moment her dimness eased. Hale studied Marcus. "Tell us, human, why did you save her?" Marcus didn't hesitate. "Because someone needed saving. Rank, species, politics, none of that mattered. Duty isn't conditional." The conclave quieted. Astrielle watched counselors reconsider, not moved but unsettled. Marcus exhaled. "You fear dilation of your purity? Then your purity was fragile to begin with." That struck deeper than a shouted argument. Hale closed her eyes thoughtfully. Varix trembled with fury. "You contaminate our queen with sentiment. Aetherborn do not bind to emotion." Astrielle cut in, voice like carved frost. "You're wrong. We bind to law, and law recognizes sacrifice." Marcus turned slightly toward her. Their connection pulsed. Her aura brightened faintly. "What you fear," Astrielle continued, "is not contamination but change." Silence. Counselors shifted uneasily. Truth was a blade hard to parry. Hale finally spoke. "I propose the conclave observe the binding before condemning it. If the mortal stabilizes without draining you further, precedent may stand." Varix snarled. "And if he fails?" Astrielle smiled faintly. "Then I die fulfilling ancient law, and you inherit my burden." Marcus spoke one last time. "Maybe stop fearing the bridge before you see if it holds." The conclave adjourned, fractured, unsettled, but without overthrow. Astrielle swayed as she left, the exertion nearly collapsing her. Marcus caught her. "Reckless," she whispered. "Necessary," he replied. And for the first time she let him support her weight. Not as soldier or queen, but as two beings bound by fate neither chose but both were beginning to accept. Astrielle's sanctum was unlike the clinical healing chambers Marcus had woken in. It was alive. Walls breathed faint auric mist. Floors pulsed with slow star beats, like the world itself was a slumbering titan. Marcus helped Astrielle to a seat carved from hardened radiance. She reclined with visible strain. "You should not have come," she murmured. Marcus leaned on the armrest, catching his own unsteady breath. "Maybe not. But I refuse to let them corner you." She studied him, eyes luminous but faint. "Humans are inconveniently stubborn." He smirked softly. "You chose to bind yourself to one." Astrielle didn't reply, because they didn't need words. Marcus felt her exhaustion roll through his veins. She felt his anger cooling into determination. The bond was no longer intrusion, more like echo. Lara entered behind them, bowing awkwardly. "Majesty, Commander, your vitals are fluctuating. I need to adjust support fields." Astrielle sighed. "Do as you must." While Lara checked readings, Marcus moved toward the balcony. Outside, this unfolded, an impossible sky of twin suns and rivers of floating crystal. Palace spires bent with gravity-defying curves. He could see thousands of Aetherborn below, moving like streams of light. "Your world is beautiful," he murmured. Astrielle's voice drifted closer. "And imperiled. Their fear grows, of what we represent." "We?" Marcus turned. She approached, slower than before but upright. "Yes. You are not a guest now. You are entwined with the crown." He rubbed his chest unconsciously where faint gold lines pulsed. "Then what happens to us?" Astrielle gazed out at her people. "Tradition demands I quarantine until you stabilize. But political pressure demands I resume governing." Marcus frowned. "If you weaken publicly, they will tear the throne apart," she finished. A knock at the chamber threshold interrupted. Prince Calith entered. Unlike his mother, his aura burned bright, assertive. Tall, narrowed eyes, armor etched with warlike sigils. "Mother." The border wardens report a surge. Dissident cells gather. Astrielle stiffened. "Already?" "They claim the right taints the empire. Some demand abdication." Marcus moved forward. "They're blaming her for saving me." Calith regarded him coolly. "They blame her for binding to mortality. Many view you as parasite." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Enough," Astrielle said sharply. "Marcus is here because he chose honor over survival. We do not discard those who embody our oldest vows." Calith lowered his head slightly, a gesture halfway between respect and warning. "Regardless, Mother, you cannot show weakness. Attend the Dawn Assembly tonight. Let them see you rule unaffected." Marcus interjected. "She can't. The binding drains her." Calith's eyes hardened. "Then conceal it. A faltering queen invites rebellion." Astrielle dismissed him with a gesture. He bowed and departed, light trailing like molten filament. Marcus turned to her. "He's not wrong. If they believe you fading, they will strike." Her voice was steady. "Which is why we must adapt before they do." Marcus folded his arms. "How?" Astrielle approached him, not regally but honestly, fatigue etched in her posture. "The connection runs both ways now. I feel your strength when you draw near. I feel a faint replenishment." Marcus nodded. "Then let me try again." She hesitated. "It nearly unraveled you before. That was survival. This is intent. Show me how to channel it." Astrielle studied him, weighing risk versus necessity. "Very well." She placed her palm over his heart. A rush of sensation flared, heat, ache, fragments of memory traveling between their minds. Marcus focused, pushing the warmth back, not drawing. Light flickered between them. Astrielle gasped, her aura flared brighter. "It works." Marcus sagged to one knee, momentarily winded but alive. Astrielle steadied him. "Enough." Slowly. "If we strain the conduit, we both suffer." They held on to each other, neither above, neither beneath, just two beings balancing survival. Lara watched in astonishment. "It's mutual," she whispered. "A shared circulatory exchange. You're stabilizing each other." Astrielle exhaled, a genuine smile ghosting across her features. "Then there is hope." But hope invited danger. Outside, the palace trembled, alarm resonance echoing. Astrielle turned toward the balcony, ominous flickers gathering beyond the spires. "Rebellion has begun to move," she murmured. Marcus straightened beside her. "Then I stay at your side." "As protector?" she asked softly. Marcus paused. "No. As equal." Astrielle's aura warmed. "Then we faced the Dawn Assembly together." This never slept, but dawn was ceremonial. Light rose through the city not from suns alone but from awakened energy veins beneath the capital. The assembly platform hovered above the highest spire, an open circle whose floor was woven of starlit glass. Thousands of citizens gathered below, counselors and wardens ringed the platform. Astrielle stepped into view, her aura sharpened by Marcus's stabilizing presence at her side. She looked stronger, but Marcus could feel the strain beneath the surface. Whispers spread, unease, disbelief, fascination. A mortal stands with her? The queen's radiance flickers, she hides weakness. The binding corrupts the crown. Astrielle raised her hand, silence rippled outward. Citizens of Oriths, she began, voice carrying like resonant bells, I come before you living, not diminished. The rite was enacted by ancient law. A life freely given demands acknowledgement. Her words struck with controlled authority, but Marcus sensed pushback brewing. High Chancellor Varix stepped forward from the opposite arc, addressing the crowd. And yet the queen shares her essence with flesh unworthy. Our laws protect purity of rule. Must we risk collapse for sentiment? The energy of the crowd shifted, dangerously. Marcus stepped forward, gaze leveling the counselor. If purity demands ignoring sacrifice, then your purity is cowardice dressed in ritual. The chamber stirred, some gasped, some murmured approval. Astrielle did not rebuke him, she let the words stand. Varix's aura crackled with fury. You speak without station. Marcus gestured to Astrielle. I speak because she nearly died. And because you talk of tradition yet hide from the meaning of your own laws. Eliane rose, addressing the whole assembly. Then we must examine the bond instead of condemning it blindly. Majesty, can you demonstrate the rite's effect? Astrielle inclined her head, then extended her hand toward Marcus. Golden tracery flared across their skin. The crowd leaned forward. She drew essence, Marcus let it flow, and her aura brightened visibly. Murmurs transformed. Awe, confusion, fear. Then Marcus reversed the flow. Astrielle inhaled sharply, her strength rising instead of waning. That was the turning point, proof the bond was not parasitic but symbiotic. But Varix was not undone. He stepped forward, power swelling. Majesty, explain then why your vitality remains unstable. Why does your rule shake if the mortal sustains you? Before Astrielle could reply, the sky split. Marcus reacted first, the bond prickled with warning. A blast shattered part of the upper ring. Dissident sentinels stormed the platform, their armor blackened with anti-royal sigils. For the crown untainted, they roared. Chaos erupted. Counselors shielded themselves, guards clashed with rebels and flashes of crystalline blades. Marcus moved instinctively, shoving Astrielle behind him as a bolt of coiled energy shrieked toward her. He absorbed its force through the tracery on his chest, pain seared but dissipated into light. Astrielle gasped, not just at the attack but at the link. She felt the shock he took for her. Marcus drew one of the crystalline guard spears. Stay behind me. No, she whispered, stepping beside him. We defend together. And they did. When he blocked a strike aimed for her flank, she surged energy into his arm, guiding strength. When she faltered, he pushed essence back through the bond, steadying her. They fought not as two, but as one. Rebels faltered, unprepared for synchronized minds. Calith arrived with royal wardens, forcing the remaining attackers into retreat. As the assembly stabilized, Astrielle turned to the council, her voice cold fire. You see now. The bond is strength, not decline. Marcus stood beside her, weapon lowered. Varix stared at them, rage tempered by forced recognition. Perhaps, he muttered, but strength invites expectation. Now you must prove your union can hold what comes next. Astrielle met Marcus's eyes. We intend to. Below them, the crowd, shaken but enthralled, watched their queen and the mortal standing united. Something had shifted, not acceptance but momentum. Astrielle leaned close enough Marcus could hear her thought before she spoke. This was only the first strike. Marcus nodded. Then we prepare for the war that follows. The aftermath of the assembly was not celebration, it was interrogation. Marcus and Astrielle were taken not to her sanctum, but to the core spire, the imperial nerve center where strategy was carved into reality. War tables of living glass formed shifting maps. Advisors argued in fractured constellations, their voices low but volatile. Calith met them at the entrance. Mother, the rebels were only vanguard cells. Someone coordinated them, someone with access to sentinel command routes. Astrielle's expression tightened. A coup inside the guard? Calith nodded grimly. We have detained 10 captains. None speak. Either they fear something more than arrest or they expect rescue. Marcus sensed Astrielle's pulse spike through their link, anger but also fatigue. "Let us see," she murmured, stepping toward the interrogation sphere. The room dimmed. 10 kneeling figures, sentinels stripped of armor, glowed faintly with containment runes. Their faces were defiant, eyes bright with fanatic certainty. Astrielle spoke, voice sharpened. "You broke oath and blade against sovereign law. Why?" One sentinel spat at her feet. "Because the throne was tainted. You bound yourself to decay." Marcus's jaw clenched. Astrielle raised a hand subtly. "Wait." Another captive leaned forward, sneering at Marcus. "You are rot-given flesh. She dims because of you." Marcus stepped close, gaze level. "I walked into fire to save someone I barely knew." "What did you do?" "Hide behind doctrine until others bled for you." A ripple of discomfort broke through even among rebels. Marcus didn't press. He turned and walked back to Astrielle. "They hate the idea of change," he murmured, "but they hate insignificance more." Astrielle understood. She approached the captives, not with threat but with inevitability. "You think death redeems you? It does not. Your rebellion is not purity, it is fear given blade." The dissidents snarled but did not respond. Caliph gestured. "Interrogations continue. Mother, we need direction." Astrielle looked to Marcus. Their minds brushed, a thought unspoken but shared. Stability will not return by force alone. She turned to her son. "Begin internal audit. Every commander vetted by soul signature scan. If corruption spreads deeper, we excise surgically, not with spectacle." Caliph bowed and left. Marcus followed Astrielle to a private war balcony. From here the city seemed serene, distant from scheming walls. "You didn't kill them," Marcus said. "Execution makes martyrs," Astrielle answered. "We need obedience, not shrines." Marcus leaned on the railing. "There's more you're not saying." Astrielle nodded. "Someone funds this rebellion. Someone with knowledge of the right. Whoever it is, they want me replaced before the binding stabilizes." Marcus exhaled. "Because if it stabilizes, your rule becomes symbol and bridge, too strong to fracture." She looked at him, troubled. "You see the battlefield clearly." He gave a humorless half-smile. "War trained me to read vultures better than banners." Silence settled, comfortable not empty. Then Astrielle spoke quieter. "Your presence steadies me, not just through the bond but in counsel." Marcus met her gaze. "Then train me to be useful beyond fighting." Astrielle studied him, considering. "You had leadership in your world?" "Squad command," he said. "Not palace diplomacy." "Good," she replied. "Palace diplomacy is just war with different uniforms." She summoned a sphere of memory light. Inside, ghostly scenes played, ancient empires negotiating, rulers binding alliances through ritual instead of blood. "This is how we govern," she said. "Not with invulnerability, but with vulnerability disguised as inevitability." Marcus absorbed it. "I'll learn." "I know," she said softly. But their moment fractured when the entire spire trembled. Lara rushed onto the balcony. "Majesty, energy breach at the sanctum vault. Someone is tampering with the right seals." Astrielle turned icy. "They seek to sever the bond." Marcus's blood ran cold, not for his life but hers. "That would kill you," he said. "And you," she replied. Calitha's voice cut through the comm stream. "Mother, we've located the saboteur. It is not dissidents. It is General Valor." Astrielle froze. Marcus felt her shock echo. "Valor was your tutor?" Marcus whispered. "He taught me statecraft," she answered, eyes darkening. "And now he moves to unmake my rule." Marcus drew breath. "Then we move, not as queen and soldier but as one." Astrielle nodded. "We end this before nightfall." And without ceremony they descended into the vaults, toward the man who once shaped her throne, and now meant to tear it from beneath her. The sanctum vault lay beneath the palace, a cathedral of crystallized darkness where only monarchs and high guardians were permitted. Marcus expected torchlight or consoles. Instead, the air glittered with suspended glyphs, as if language itself had been frozen in orbit. Astrielle walked fast despite her weakening aura. Marcus sensed through the bond that she pushed herself harder than her body allowed, but urgency demanded it. The vault doors loomed, sculpted from starstone. Caliph and a squad of wardens guarded the threshold. "He is inside," Caliph reported. "The seals are destabilizing." Marcus's instincts prickled. "If he breaches them." "The bond sundered kills us both," Astrielle finished. Caliph tried to block her path. "Mother, I should enter first." "No," her tone cut through air. He betrayed me. I will confront him. Marcus stepped beside her. Calith reluctantly signaled the runes, doors parted like parting planets. Inside, shadows coiled. Valor stood before the right altar, armored in ceremonial silver, hands embedded in glowing matrix veins. His once wise face was taut with conviction, not madness. Majesty, he said without turning. You arrive before collapse. Astrielle's voice trembled, not from fear but memory. You taught me loyalty. Why betray me now? Valor withdrew his hands, the altar flickered dangerously. I shaped rulers, not martyrs. You bind yourself to mortality while enemies gather. You would dissolve the distance between crown and flesh. That is not sovereignty. It is dilution. Marcus stepped forward. You mean control. Valor finally faced him, eyes ancient, sharp. I mean preservation. Empires do not survive compassion. They survive isolation. He gestured to Marcus. That thing in your chest, she gave essence for it. Each day she fades. Soon she will not reign, she will depend. Marcus felt Astrielle's pulse spike in their link. You think I fear dependence? She whispered. I fear stagnation. The right was not corruption, it was evolution. Evolution is weakness wearing poetry, Valor snarled. What rises from it is revolution, your death or worse, equality. The word sounded like venom. Marcus tightened grip on his crystalline spear. So you destroy the bond because you fear change. Valor's voice iced. I destroy it because a bound queen is manipulable, and I will not see our race led by sentiment. Astrielle stepped closer, light flickering. Then you are no guardian, you are tyrant shaped by tradition. Valor moved faster than Marcus expected, activating severance glyphs. Energy built, a lethal crescendo. Marcus shoved Astrielle aside as the explosion ripped across the altar. Pain seared his chest but the bond stabilized it. Valor stared, stunned. You absorbed it? Astrielle rose, her voice iron. He absorbs because he stands with me. You never understood shared strength. The vault crackled, destabilizing sigils collapsing. If the breach completed, the bond would unravel violently. Marcus lunged, not at Valor but toward the matrix. Astrielle's energy surged through him. She guided his movement. Together, they embedded their hands into the conduits. Pain became light. The matrix screamed, but stabilized. The vault trembled, then quieted. Valor staggered backward, disbelief cutting him. You repaired it through the bond. Astrielle stepped toward him. Your answer was destruction. Ours is resilience. Wardens flooded the vault. Calith seized Valor's arms, shock etched across the prince's features. You taught me to lead, Astrielle said softly, grief laced in syllables. But you never taught me to listen. Marcus did. Valor spat bitterly. You will regret binding yourself to impermanence. Astrielle met his gaze without blinking. Impermanence is life, isolation is death wearing armor. As he was dragged away, Valor whispered, He is your undoing. Astrielle turned to Marcus, eyes weary. Perhaps, she said quietly, or perhaps my becoming. Marcus lowered his spear. The people need to see you as more than myth. And maybe they'll see me as more than threat. She reached out, touching his chest. We prove the bond is strength, not drain. He nodded. Then the conclave must confront it. Astrielle's aura flickered, but brighter than before. Come, she said. We present truth to the realm. Marcus walked beside her, equal pace, equal burden. Somewhere deeper in the vault, dormant glyphs awakened, ancient eyes watching, whispering of prophecy. Two minds bound may break empires or birth them. Neither Astrielle nor Marcus heard. But fate had begun its turn. The conclave hall did not welcome Astrielle and Marcus. It bristled. Counselors sat rigid, light sharpened like drawn blades. Word of Valor's arrest had spread before they arrived. Distrust fermented into hostility. Astrielle entered first, posture regal despite exhaustion. Marcus followed, not behind her as attendant, but beside her as presence. Whispers rippled. Traitor exiled. The queen arrests her own tutor? The mortal manipulates her. Astrielle raised her hand. Silence obeyed. General Valor orchestrated the assault on the right, she declared. He sought dissolution, not restoration. His ideology would have turned empire into tomb. High Chancellor Varric stood, voice robed in venom. And you claim this foreigner exposed a mind older than our wars? Convenient. Marcus answered before Astrielle could. Convenience didn't shield her in the vault. Loyalty did. Eliane rose, gaze flicking between Marcus and Astrielle. Majesty, the people demand clarity. They watched rebels strike. They watched you grow dim. They fear instability. Astrielle nodded, not defiant but accepting. They deserve truth. The binding weakened me. But it also made strength shared rather than hoarded. She gestured to Marcus. Demonstrate. Marcus inhaled. Their link flared, and the crowd felt it. Astrielle's aura surged. Marcus steadied under feedback. The hall murmured, not fear now but stunned recognition. Symbiosis, Eliane whispered. This is unprecedented. Varix cut in. Or staged. Astrielle's gaze sharpened. Then witness further. She extended her palm to Varix. Marcus sent a pulse of energy. Astrielle caught it, redirected, and it flared outward as radiant shields blossomed above the assembly. The barrier shimmered with harmonic resonance, protective, unforced. The counselors gasped, because that shield had not been active. It was created. Eliane stood. Majesty, you reshaped a defensive array without apparatus, through the bond. Astrielle lowered her hand, voice quiet but implacable. Do you still claim weakness? Pressure shifted. Suspicion faltered, but instinct fought revelation. Varix glared. Strength does not absolve error. The bond breaks law. No, Eliane interrupted, stepping forward. It extends it. A fissure formed, not rebellion, alignment. Astrielle breathed. Marcus felt release flood through her. But peace fractured quickly. Calith rushed into the chamber, armor scorched. Assault. External districts breached. Attackers target population nodes. Rebels use shrouded phasing, unknown frequency. Astrielle straightened. Mobilize the sentinels. Lock civilian sectors. Marcus stepped forward. Send me. Calith balked. You lack training in our terrain. Your people don't trust outsiders, Marcus countered. Then let them see one bleed for them. Astrielle's mind grazed his, dangerous but necessary. Go, she commanded softly, but her gaze held warning. I will guide you through the bond. The outer districts were chaos, glittering architecture shattered, civilians scattering like disrupted currents. Rebels in darkened armor phased through walls, striking then vanishing. Marcus arrived with a strike cohort. His lungs burned. The environment fought human biology, but Astrielle steadied him. Left, above, behind. He moved before sight caught up, parrying a phased attacker. Through their link, Astrielle sensed each strike. Marcus felt her tactical instincts bleed into his muscles. They fought again as one. When a rebel phased behind a mother shielding her child, Marcus surged, tackling the assailant through a crystalline arch. Astrielle amplified the impact. Energy shattered armor, exposing the attacker. But rebels adapted. One drove a blade of null light at Marcus's heart. Astrielle's scream echoed, not physical but mental. Marcus twisted too slow. A lance of royal energy struck the rebel first. Calith had arrived, face stormed with conflict. You will not fall, he growled, uncertain if he spoke to Marcus or his mother through him. Together they pushed rebels back. Phasing tech destabilized under Astrielle's remote interference. Finally, silence. Astrielle's voice reached him through the bond, gentle yet fierce. You stood where they would not. Marcus looked around at civilians, Aetherborn gathering, eyes changed. Not adoration. Recognition. Calith approached, slower than before. The people saw you. You defended them without demand. That changes narratives. Marcus exhaled. Then let this be the start, not symbol but proof. Later, returning to the palace, Astrielle met him in the mid-spire chamber. Her aura brighter, strength clearer. You bled for my people, she said quietly. Your people, Marcus corrected. But soon, not just yours. She studied him, mind touching his. Chapter 10 begins soon, she whispered. Then let's make it worthy. And for the first time since the rite, she touched his hand, not ritual, not necessity. Just. The hall of binding opened only once for each reign. Tonight it opened for two. Starlight cascaded across the chamber, forming bridges of suspended crystal. Thousands gathered in the amphitheater below. Citizens, soldiers, nobles, skeptics, loyalists. Above them the royal dais shimmered. Astrielle stood at its center, light steady at last, no longer flickering. Marcus walked beside her, not resuscitated soldier anymore but something the realm could not yet name. Eliane stepped forward, bearing the ancient sigil disc. By law and covenant, she intoned, the bond must be witnessed. Marcus scanned the sea of faces, some hopeful, some fearful. Astrielle's voice carried. You have watched rebellion rise, councils fracture, faith shaken. Yet you have also watched sacrifice, resilience, unity born from difference. Her gaze drifted to Marcus. What began as debt became alliance. What was fragile became shared strength. Murmurs threaded through the crowd. High Chancellor Varric spoke next, not defiant but stiff with resignation. The conclave acknowledges the right has stabilized. The Queen lives. The mortal endures. We accept the new precedent. It was not praise, but it was concession. Astrielle lifted her hand. The chamber dimmed, the star bridges lowered. A symbol formed above them, two intertwined sigils, one Aetherborn, one human. This bond, she declared, is no longer transaction. It is institution. Gasps rippled. Marcus felt her pulse, steady, sure. We do not erase our difference, Astrielle continued. We build bridge upon it. The crowd leaned forward, uncertainty shifting into something else. Marcus Hale, she turned to him openly before the realm, you gave your life for peace. You took weight not yours. You stood for strangers as kin. Her voice softened, not as queen but as woman. In doing so you became not outsider but fulcrum. Marcus swallowed. The spotlight wasn't comfort, it was burden. Yet through the bond he felt her steadiness become his. Eliane raised her disc, sigils flared. By decree, let title be granted. Astrielle stepped closer to Marcus, eyes reflecting twin suns. You are named the Pact-born, she said, living treaty between worlds. Marcus bowed his head, not in subservience but acknowledgement. The bridge, Caliph added from behind, voice formal, upon which futures may cross. The hall resonated, not applause but something older, acceptance. Astrielle extended her hand to Marcus, publicly without ritual duty forcing it. He took it. The sigils above them brightened. But ceremony was never end, only hinge. Astrielle turned back to the thousands. Let the realm know this, we no longer rule by isolation. We rule by shared cost and shared consequence. Marcus stepped forward, voice carrying. You feared weakness in unity. But strength is never solitary, it is reciprocal. What I gave her she returned. What she risked I bear. The crowd shifted, even Varric watched with unreadable expression. Astrielle closed with words that would be etched into chronicles. From this day we are not shielded from change, we are architects of it. A roar rose, not uniform but undeniable. The hall of binding pulsed. Energy cascaded down the spires, igniting bridges across the capital, literal pathways forming between disparate districts. Cities awoke to new light. Citizens watched as two figures, one radiant monarch, one reformed mortal, stood side by side. Later, alone in the sanctum, Marcus removed his ceremonial armor. Astrielle dismissed her attendants, stepping toward him, not queen now but person. We crossed threshold today, she murmured. Together, Marcus said. She reached out, not to mend him nor draw from him, just a simple touch. This bond began in blood, she said, but now it becomes choice. Marcus nodded. Where does it lead? Astrielle smiled faintly, the rare, unguarded kind. To a world that will resist, then learn. He held her gaze. Then we build it. Their hands intertwined, not by right, not by decree, by intent. Outside, this shimmered under a new dawn. Not because two rulers declared peace, but because one soldier's sacrifice and one queen's defiance rewrote what nations believed possible. The chronicles would remember him as Pact-born, her as the queen of convergence. But history would whisper a simpler truth. They were not saviors. They were proof that empires collapse or rise on the courage to share power. And this time, the world chose to rise.